Good afternoon. It's great to be here. I'm glad I was able to make it in despite yesterday's weather. Any Boston Celtics fans in the crowd? A few? So you know there was a little trade between Boston and Cleveland over the summer. A guy named Kyrie Irving who hit the game-winning shot and broke a 50-year championship drought in Cleveland, moved to Boston for big-time sports. And we got a couple things back in the trade. We got Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder, and as of this moment, they just got traded away from Cleveland. So, you know, ever-changing, but breaking news while you've been in the room. So it's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm not going to talk Boston sports. I'm originally from New York, so I'm just not going to go there. I want to talk about how we're reimagining marketing at Cleveland Clinic and how we've been moving forward in an increasingly digital landscape. I think everyone here agrees, and you don't need to go through the facts and figures to recognize the reality that we're in an omni-channel marketing world. When I began as Chief Marketing Officer at Cleveland Clinic 11 years ago, we were living in a world that was really driven through TV, print, outdoor, and you know, of course, today we know that digital advertising has surpassed all of those categories. And frankly, healthcare marketers have been much slower, particularly in the provider space, to adjust than what we've seen in other industries. But this reality is here. It's been here with us for some time. And to be successful, we as healthcare provider marketers need to move where our patients are. And that's primarily into a digital world. This is something I talk to about my team at Cleveland Clinic all the time. All marketers must be digital marketers. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when I joined Cleveland Clinic, we had a 4-person internet marketing team. We had no social media team. We had no data science team. We had no content marketing team. But today, my expectation is that every member of our team needs to be literate in digital tactics, and they need to be comfortable in understanding and leveraging data on a daily basis. That's what drives our marketing programs for all of our clinical areas and all of our regional locations today. So everyone must be a digital marketer, even if you're working on one of our service line marketing teams. This is a mantra my team would either smile or cringe if they were here, probably both. But when we look at programs, when I look at programs at Cleveland Clinic, if someone comes to me with a proposal, this is the set of questions I'm going to ask them. Have you considered if this project can be done digitally? Most importantly, can it be done in a mobile format? I heard a great anecdote about a year ago at an industry conference that Mark Zuckerberg, are you allowed to say that name here in this building? I guess. Sorry, Brian. Mark Zuckerberg, you know, because over 80% of Facebook traffic now is mobile, and so he will not look at creative on a desktop. And when I meet with physicians at the Cleveland Clinic, we will not show them online creative or social executions on a desktop horizontal format. 80% of our users aren't going there. And lastly, is it measurable? We want to try to measure everything we do across our whole spectrum of marketing and communications executions, external and internal. Today, 75% of our paid media spend is digital. So that includes all of the advertising we do that goes out into the display space. The majority of that is not only digital, most of it is video or content-driven, non-traditional creative formats. And this also includes our spend on paid search, which is a huge area of importance that I'll talk about later. But we are 75% digital and growing. The other challenge I talk about when I speak to healthcare marketers is a need to think bigger when you're thinking about omnichannel marketing or digital marketing. What I find with health systems, particularly hospitals, is there's a lot of check-the-box marketing thinking. So of course, check, I have a website. I have a Facebook page, I have a Twitter feed, maybe I'm doing Snapchat, maybe I'm doing some paid search. But how much scale do you really have? So when I ask, I don't know, are there any hospital marketers here? I won't embarrass anybody, but I did this at a major healthcare conference in Austin. How many health systems have a Twitter feed with 25,000 followers? 50,000 followers? 1 million followers? So at Cleveland Clinic, we've invested to grow our digital programs to scale. We have 1.5 million Twitter followers, 2 million Facebook followers, and 112 million visits a year to our website. Because if you're going to invest in content strategy, content-driven creative in a digital era, you have to invest in scale if you're going to impact your target audience. So I think we need to move past a check-the-box mindset to a mindset where we really achieve scale for our marketing platforms. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't experiment on smaller scale. We're experimenting today with platforms like Instagram and Snapchat. But if we're going to stay committed to them long term, we're going to have to scale them up to be relevant to prospective patients in those environments. This is a statistic I share to reinforce what I'm saying about scale. So we track Cleveland Clinic's brand awareness on a national basis. We use a third-party company called YouGov. They track all the major health systems in the US. In addition to getting our total awareness, we always ask, what are the sources of awareness? So our number one source of total awareness continues to be earned media through media placements. But we're looking for vitality in our marketing. Are we moving forward? Are we reaching new users? And our number one source of new awareness for our brand is digital. It's the combination of our website, search, social, and paid digital ads. And I think a lot of people are surprised when I show them this because they think about digital often as a place to move volume, and we do that too. But it's moving our brand on a national basis and a global basis. As a healthcare system, we don't have the dollars to spend on major TV campaigns around the world and around the country, so we rely on very precise targeting using digital to move awareness as well as volume. So scale matters, but it takes commitment. And we have totally redesigned our organization in the last 5 years to make this work. So for example, we now have a content engineering team separate from our digital marketing team that works on digital products that we build. We combined all of our offline creative services, some very long-serving, very talented medical writers and art directors, with our digital content team into one content and creative team. So we could take advantage of that great knowledge, but get it out onto our digital platforms in more relevant ways and reach a scalable audience. So that's the type of commitment that I'm talking about. And I guess you can use a Jeff Bezos quote inside a Google building. I really didn't think about that when I put this together, but this is one of my favorite things that he talks about is what's dangerous is not to evolve. We constantly have to be pushing forward and experimenting with new technology and new formats and new ways of measuring the work that we do. And candidly, the conversations we're having today with the clinical leadership and the business leadership within the Cleveland Clinic are dramatically different than what we were doing 5 years ago. And that's largely because we had the courage to evolve our creative and marketing approach. So I want to talk a little bit about Cleveland Clinic and how we execute our strategies. This simple slide is how we think about going to market for Cleveland Clinic, not just in the US, but around the world. And very purposely at the top of this slide, we put owned media. And just for the reasons I described, we have worked very hard to scale our digital platforms. And our owned media platforms are playing a vital role in driving our awareness and volume generating programs. And in fact, our internal comms are also 100% digital on our own internal platforms. So I can't stress enough for a health system that's not going to have the budgets to compete like a large consumer services company, mastering owned platforms and content strategy is critical. The second most important platform for us is earned media. And I'm going to talk about this very briefly, but earned media, it's a huge opportunity for healthcare providers. Every media company, every TV station, magazine, newspaper, website wants to write about health and wellness and innovation. But where do they get that content? And we want to be the source of that content with our trusted physicians and scientists and nurses being the source of that information. And there's almost an insatiable appetite for this earned media. As I said, it's our #1 source of total awareness, but it needs to become more digital as well. And then lastly is paid media. As I said, 75% of this digital, a big part of it in paid search, and it plays a very important role for us in targeting our primary audience, which is patients who travel for healthcare that we call the alpha influencer. They're very much in the digital space. So I'm going to start with paid media first. We've tried to move away from traditional approaches in paid media. We've been working very closely with media partners who've invested deeply in their own content creating capabilities. Last year, we opened a brand new state-of-the-art cancer building in Cleveland, and it's part of our strategic vision to become known more nationally as one of the top cancer providers. And we launched the new Taussig Cancer Center building, and we partnered with the brand studio at the Washington Post to take people inside the Cleveland Clinic Taussig Cancer building, because frankly, most of you will never get there. And we wanted to introduce this in a unique visual way. So working with the Washington Post brand studio, we created a digital program that relies on 360-degree videos. Here you're being taken inside the wig boutique. And any of those icons on the slide allow you to click and then hear a story. So you could hear from one of our patients who's inside the wig boutique. You could hear from physicians in our new imaging suites. You could hear from the architect who talks to you about how we tried to design a healing space with natural light and art and music around what patients wanted. And this has been tremendously successful. It's still accessible through the Washington Post website, but it was a unique way to reach a national audience with very differentiated creative and a message that we believe could only have come from Cleveland Clinic and our unique approach to design. And we're the #1 heart center in the country, as judged by US News and World Report for the last 21 years. And we also wanted to celebrate that last year, and we did a project with the New York Times. New York Times has a great new tool called Timeline. And what you can do is you can marry content with actual news content from the New York Times in a digital format. And what we did was we took 50 years of history of heart health and interspersed stories about Cleveland Clinic heart innovation with stories about heart innovation across the industry. And it was then displayed through this very unique and interactive timeline, which we rolled out last fall. So these are very non-traditional ways to use digital, to use media partnerships, to do very immersive, engaging, creative approaches as we try to reach out to a national audience. We're working on something brand new now that we'll have out in the spring that's going to focus on what we consider to be the real next frontier of medicine, which is brain health. So we're very excited for the same kind of custom content that I showed you here that we'll be rolling out there. I talked about earned media, and it's been a challenge over the years to evolve our earned media to think in more of a digital, mobile, and measurable way. But earlier last year, early in 2017, we created a new digital newsroom for the Cleveland Clinic. And this is a sample of the monthly scorecard that we now create for using the content of one aspect of our earned media team, which is the Cleveland Clinic News Service. We produce 20 stories typically in a month that we distribute out through our digital platform to TV stations in target markets, although any national journalist can come in and find this content. And as the number of print platforms declines and digital rises, there aren't as many dedicated healthcare journalists around the country. So this is an opportunity for them to come to a trusted national leader, find story elements, and then create a story and go deeper with us if they want to. So you can see here the total number of stories produced, online placements, how many placements on TV and radio, sites to the visits to the newsroom page itself, how many people downloaded content in the month, and how many of our pitches, what the open rate was on our pitches. And you can see a sampling of the story. It covers a broad spectrum from an opera singer who survived 2 double lung transplants to a holiday food makeover. So this is a digitally focused earned media platform that we're continuing to scale up. We'll be rolling this out further in the coming year with a dedicated social media feed targeting journalists and linking back to this platform. And as I mentioned, owned media is really the key to our go-to-market strategy. So I'd like to talk a little bit about how that comes together. This is our digital ecosystem, and it's continued to evolve over the years. But still at the foundation is our website, clevelandclinic.org. Clevelandclinic.org, we just relaunched it in the last 2 years with a fully responsive design, mobile-first design, so greatly simplified navigation and approach. We continue to add other elements around it. We have a core consumer app, a core physician app. We've built blogs, which we're really moving away from that term and thinking about them as content hubs. We continue to scale up our social media efforts and experiment with new platforms. We've also added a marketing automation platform called Marketo that's allowed us to also optimize what we do with email and manage that all through one platform. And of course, it's always important to be strong in our SEO strategies and our paid SEM tactics. The content hubs are critically important to us. When I talked about driving new national awareness, the content hubs are really a key source of that. And these are the 4 main ones that we rely on. Patient Story Hub, we have hundreds of Cleveland Clinic patient stories there. One of the nice things about this is with the design of our website, we can dynamically pull these patient stories across our site into any of the other verticals that we have on our site. So for example, if you're on our heart pages, you'd be seeing heart patient stories. And that's all done through tagging and dynamic movement of content. I talked about the newsroom. We see this as a great area for further expansion as news digitizes and linking it very closely to our social strategy with its own dedicated feed. Consult QD is a very unique property that we have. It's a content hub solely for physicians. It's organized into 20 verticals, from heart to ophthalmology to digestive disease to leadership and nursing. And the content's created by our team working in partnership with physicians. Everything we do on all of our platforms is physician or medically reviewed and scientifically grounded. So Content QD had 1.5 million visits last year, and it's linked to our Cleveland Clinic MD Twitter feed as a way to reach out to referring physicians and build national reputation for referrals. So quite an exciting area, and actually when you look at research, physicians spend more time on mobile devices than just about any other cohort of consumers in the country. So this is a place that everyone should be thinking about, how do I get in front of physicians in digital ways? And then our flagship is Health Essentials. This started 5 years ago as a site called Health Hub. Its original concept was to be a blog, and the original name they came to me with was Blognosis. Fortunately, we didn't call it that. And we went from Health Hub to Health Essentials. So Health Essentials has grown in 5 years from no traffic to 51 million followers last year. And it's been recognized as one of the best healthcare hubs in the country. Critically for us, Cleveland, we're based in Cleveland, Ohio, not the center of the universe, not a place that's on most people's travel itinerary. The lifeblood of our 1,400-bed, 150-acre main campus is bringing patients in from around the country and around the world. And we have the highest acuity of any large hospital in the country. This taps right directly into that business strategy because 94% of the visitors to this site come from outside the state of Ohio, and I should add 80% of the traffic is mobile. So it's all about reaching out and building that new national awareness. I talked about Consult QD. One of the keys here is building content by vertical. We're posting a minimum of 3 to 5 times a day. And our physicians have been great partners in doing this. The content's about research, education, and innovation. And it used to be when we started that we were taking a lot of content from print to digital, but today it's completely reversed. And we primarily develop first for this platform and then do smaller digital formats and mailings building off of Consult QD. We're about to launch a new Consult QD live video platform that'll further enhance this strategy in 2018. Patient stories, we continue to believe patient stories are a key part of who we are. As our colleague from Aetna was talking about, they motivate people, they really tap into people's emotions. So we use these both for our internal audiences, but also for consumers as a way to be inspired about the care that they can receive at Cleveland Clinic. Wouldn't be right to be at Google and not talk about search engine marketing. And volume generation is a key part of our digital strategy. Cleveland Clinic is a national referral center, an international referral center, and we need to meet patients where they are. And where patients are today when they're diagnosed with a disease or condition, 80% of healthcare journeys start with search. Think about your own experience when a friend or loved one or you've been diagnosed or you're just not feeling well, you're saying, what is this? You're going online, you're searching not only online, but primarily on your phone. And on average, patients and caregivers search 19 times before converting to being a patient. And we're able to track this very closely through our Marketo marketing automation. It's amazing that patients consume just, once they find the content stream that they're looking for, let's say they're looking at something like Crohn's disease or prostate cancer, they will consume almost all the content, if not all the content that we have available. The backbone of our search engine strategy, when we meet you where you're searching for a specific disease or condition, for example here AFib or breast cancer, is we provide detailed treatment guides for patients. You just need to fill out the form, giving us your name, your address, your email, of course, so we can continue to try to activate you and nurture you to making an appointment if that's what you want to do. But then you can download this custom content that's only available if you fill out the form. And this is very unique. It's something we've been doing for over 8 years. And they're constantly updated in partnership with our physicians and nurses. And it really takes people through what their expectations should be for their diagnosis and their course of treatment at the Cleveland Clinic. And as I mentioned, it's backed by marketing automation. For each of those 137 campaigns, we have built unique content streams and activation streams that could start with a thank you from downloading the content and take you all the way through helping you make an appointment at the end. And by using marketing automation, we have much better visibility on what content our patients are looking for and how we can fill in content gaps, and also how we can more effectively help patients make appointments. And it's a huge decision to travel for healthcare, to leave family and friends, come to Cleveland, Ohio, probably book a stay in a hotel, and put your trust in doctors that you're maybe meeting for the first time. And so having this nurture journey for patients is critically important. This is all backed up by a marketing data warehouse that we've built. This is the very simplified view of how it works, but we have an enterprise information and management analytics team. We are part of that. We'll be able to track all of our campaign leads, conversion rates, contribution margin, right down to ROI. This has changed the nature of conversations I can have with clinical institute chairs and most importantly with our CFO. And we've built this in-house. So the data we use is the same data that the clinical teams use and the finance team use, so a single source of truth for analytics. And this is just a sample for paid search. During 2017, we generated almost 70,000 patient leads, almost 8,500 patients, and we generated a proven 13-to-1 ROI on our paid search lead generating efforts. So this is the type of analytics that we can get today by using a digitally focused acquisition strategy. Lastly, I'd like to talk about where I see healthcare marketing going in the future. I've shared a lot of the core that we do. But increasingly for us, we're getting asked to use our capabilities and skills to go beyond marketing to the patient journey, to the patient experience. And for us, increasingly, we're being asked to contribute through content and tools. And I've talked about many of these, but no one is better positioned in the organization to understand consumers and patients than marketing. We are deeply involved in research. We're constantly talking to patients, talking to industry experts like yourselves, and that's helped us to develop these relevant tools. Video is a great example. We have 1,200 physician bio videos on our website. Think about patients who are traveling to Cleveland. So you can watch a 1.5 to 2 minute video of the physician you're coming to see, and it gives you a personal connection before you come for the first time. But then it's also backed by a robust profile with physician ratings. This is an example of a tool we've built with our IT team. We've rolled out 23 express care clinics in the last several years. We have 7 more coming this year. These are open 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 Saturday and Sunday. So open when the patients want to be seen, not traditional office hours. And our IT team built a custom algorithm to model wait times based on express cares, not based on what we've seen in EDs. And we played the key role in helping deploy this out to the website in a mobile-friendly, digital-friendly format. I talked about Find a Doctor. This is one of the most visited areas of our website. The videos are playing a central role here, and we display all of our Press Ganey ratings. We weren't the first in the country to do this, but we were the first major academic medical center and U.S. News Honor Roll hospital to do this. I'm told there's only about 50, 60 hospitals, health systems in the country doing it. It kind of shocks me because this is the level of transparency that consumers want to see. And we also include all verbatim customer comments on the site unless they're objectionable in their content. And we're moving increasingly towards new tools. This is a sample of the online self-scheduling that we've rolled out for our pediatrics practice and much of our primary care practice. There's still a long way to go here, but you do self-service in banking, in hotels, and travel, certainly on Amazon. Healthcare consumers certainly want this type of capability, and we are iterating our way through it now, working closely with our medical operations and IT team. A huge enterprise priority for us in Cleveland has been access, breaking down the barriers to get into our health system. I talked about walk-in clinics. Before that, we were the first major health system to do same-day appointments. We do over 1 million same-day appointments a year in Cleveland, which always amazes me when I talk about that number. But our most recent priority has been rolling out virtual visits. Access anytime, anywhere through a mobile app on your phone. And we started this program in earnest in early 2017. First trying to drive downloads, then really get people to activate and use the app, which has proven to be the bigger challenge, and then optimizing our digital programs around driving activations and patient volume. And we work very closely with our clinical team in our telehealth distance health unit, and this is the growth that we achieved in 2017 by partnering closely with them. Obviously, they're driving the clinical adoption, but we're helping to drive the patient adoption of virtual visits, certainly an area that we expect to grow dramatically in the future. So I'd just like to close with a few key takeaways. We believe very passionately at Cleveland Clinic that all marketers and communicators need to be digital marketers. I only touched the surface today, but if I was showing you our internal comms, you'd see how those are driven digitally and by metrics, just as we do for our external. Measurements demonstrate impact. If you want to have dialogue in the C-suite with clinical leaders, if you want to be able to make the case for incremental investment in marketing and communication spend, you have to come armed with measurable impact. And digital platforms or tools like a marketing data warehouse enable those conversations. We believe very strongly in using an integrated marketing mix led by our own owned media channels and then strongly integrated with earned and paid media. And again, as a brand, as an organization that doesn't have the benefit of huge national media budgets, we've been able to generate significant impact and brand recognition by using creative approaches in spaces like paid media. We are making a volume impact on the business. Paid search and other volume generating tactics that we use are measurable and are making a difference in the bottom line. And healthcare marketers need to be thinking that way and not just at traditional brand metrics. And then finally, I'm very excited when I think about the future of what we can do to go beyond our traditional marketing tools, but help reshape the digitalization of the patient experience in healthcare as we move into the future. So it's been a pleasure to be with you today. I really enjoyed, it's always fun to come up to Boston, and fortunately made it through the snow. And I look forward to having a chance to talk to some of you later in the day. So it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.